Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
This is Sales Logic. It is now 8:01 Eastern Saturday morning. My favorite time of the week. I'm hanging out here with my partner, Mark Hunter. Mark, how you doing today?
I am doing great. It's been a great sales week. We got a great topic on board. We're going to be talking about how do you conquer unresponsive prospects. But hey, jump in for a second and share with people how they can share with us their questions, because we've been getting a lot of comments lately from people.
Yeah, and now we just got our first listener in here from France. C'est la vie. That is fantastic. Bonjour, or maybe afternoon by now. But listen, this show is about one person, and that is you. So if you want to submit a question, we got a load of questions coming up. You go to saleslogicpodcast.com. Just enter your question, or feel free to reach out to me or Mark on LinkedIn or to our emails. We'll feature you right here on the show.
And while you're out on that podcast website page, sign up for the Sales Logic Exchange, because we got Mike Weinberg coming up in a couple months, and we got more guests. But every month you can just go to that page and register. So, okay, conquering unresponsive prospects. Yeah, gee, this has never happened to any of us. No. Everybody responds to our emails, our calls, right?
It's funny when you think about responding, conquering the unresponsive prospect. I really think the first thing you need to do is to go back and figure out if this prospect is worth your time. Now, I realize you haven't spoken to them yet, so there's not a lot that you can, not a lot of detailed information you can gain, but do as much research as you can to decide if this prospect is worth your time. I was in my CRM this morning looking to who I was going to call on today, and I came up to a couple of prospects in my CRM that I questioned. They've never responded to me in 2 years. I can't get a lot of detail as to what's going on there as far as how much revenue they have, what their sense of urgency is, and I just took them out. I'm not sure it's worth my time or energy.
See, that brings up a good point. We all think, I need more leads. No, it isn't about having more leads. It's really about having better leads. And you do need to go through and vet, because I'll tell you what, if you can't find research on a lead, if you can't validate them through something on the web, they're probably not a good lead. Get them out of there, because your time is your most valuable asset. And I'll tell you something else I see happening. And so tendency, they're unresponsive. So then they start casting a wider net, No, now is not the time to cast a wider net. It's time to get even tighter in your ICP. Stay extremely focused as to who your customer is.
Yeah, so I want to welcome a couple of people. Welcome, Robin. We've got a LinkedIn user here this morning, and Natalie and Roberta, welcome back. And wow, I'm probably not going to pronounce this right. Asatawa, I think, the beautiful name. Welcome here. We've got great listeners here this morning. Feel free to chime in. But the first thing I ask myself, whether a prospect is unresponsive or even if it's somebody I feel like I've got a connection to that they've responded before, but the question you need to be asking yourself always is, why would they respond? Let me give you an example. Mark. I love Mark. Mark sends me an email, I would respond to that email. But in the course of my day, I am so busy. And when I see Mark's newsletter or something come across, it sparks that there's an article in there I'd like to read, but I don't respond. I don't have time in that moment. So you have to create a sense of urgency. Whereas if Mark had emailed me about a problem I am currently having, now all of a sudden, that makes me want to respond.
And that brings up another good point, because unresponsive doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't see it. Unresponsive doesn't mean it didn't have some sort of value to them. They may have just chosen not to respond. I've had people reach out to me time after time after time after time after time. I've never responded, but then I am ready to buy and I do reach out to them. So don't view unresponsive as being time to walk away. This is where so many salespeople, well, I sent them 3 or 4 emails, or I left them a couple voicemails and they haven't responded, so they must not be interested. You don't know. You don't know until you have a conversation with them. But go back to Meridith's original comment. Do they even fit your profile?
Yeah.
Because, don't stay in the game unless they fit your profile.
I had such a good example of this this week. I have a prospect that I started calling on 7 years ago. And I got the prospect because he heard me speak somewhere and he thought I would be perfect for his organization. So that made him an A prospect. But I have called on him for 7 years. 3 years ago, I knocked him to a B. Another year after that, I knocked him to a C. And a C for me means I only reach out twice a year, right? Just to stay visible with him. Mark's point, never a peep, never said a word. I am sitting at my desk on Thursday of this week. I get an email from him out of the blue. I can't even remember the last time I contacted him. And he said, I think the timing is now. Can you send me something and let's pull the trigger for November? And I just thought, you just never know. Now, what I think is really important there is I wasn't getting a response. He started out as an A because he told me it was a hot lead, but then something shifted. And to Roberta's point, you take it personally when people don't respond. It has nothing to do with you. All that happened was you fell off the urgency list. I use this example with my clients all the time. I'll say, you called on me, I want to buy your product or service. And then my mother fell and broke her hip. My kid got a D on his report card. And my biggest client just called with a huge order. Now, all of a sudden, whatever it is you're selling is not my priority.
There's a good point that you bring up there. How many times have we had these leads that they start off as A's and then they slowly work their way down, and we don't work them down fast enough? But there's something interesting. That gentleman who reached back out to you, I bet over the last 7 years, he's seen your newsletter. He's seen you on social media. He's seen you. So in other words, there is a lot of touches that we're actually having with prospects that we don't realize, but they are interacting. I've had this time and time again where people have said, oh yeah, you reached out to me several years ago, but then they reach back out, but they've stayed in touch. So don't think for a moment when we talk about unresponsive prospects, that doesn't mean you're giving up the ghost completely. You got to stay out there in your other mediums, in your other forms, because otherwise they will be unresponsive because they don't know you exist.
Yeah, so I love this. I love this question here. Are they really a prospect if they don't respond? Well, let me answer that 2 ways. If I've never, ever, ever had a conversation with them, they're a suspect. Doesn't mean I still don't chase them like a prospect, but they're a suspect. I've never engaged. But this particular client, I had spoken with a couple of times. And so he was a prospect. And I needed to stay in the game, even if they don't respond. Mark, I know you've had this happen. I cannot tell you how much business I book just because I remained visible and they never engaged me. But when the time was right, I needed to be accessible. If you give up, then they'll just move on to somebody else.
That's the whole thing. You got to keep the store open. I mean, you got to keep the store open and keep it available. The prospect is the prospect really a prospect if they don't respond? If they fit your ICP, I've got people and companies that absolutely fit my ICP. I mean, I go through my criteria and they check every box. I haven't talked to them, but you know what? They're a prospect. I'm going to get them sooner or later. So, they haven't responded to me yet, but I'm going to stay focused on them. See, again, this comes back to stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Know the value you create and who you can create that value for.
Yeah, I love this. I run a cleaning company and I'm looking to build a response pipeline with prospects who understand that I'm simply looking to have a conversation and ask them a few questions. I love this idea. Just make sure your intentions are pure. And what I mean by that is take a moment, turn off the computer, turn off the phone, don't listen to a video, and really ask yourself, are you purely looking for information? Because if you go out acting like you're looking for information, the customer can sense that. The prospect can sense that. But let me tell you why I love this strategy. So I'm working on a new book right now. And And I reached out to 10 of my past clients and I just said, hey, I'm working on a new book. My intentions are pure. I just want information. On the subject, I want to understand where they are in their heads, what's going on with all that's happening in the marketplace. And 2 of them already booked me for engagements in the fall, which was not my intention at all. But through the course of the conversation, that happened. But please make sure your intentions are pure. I get so sick of the people who reach out to me on LinkedIn who act like they just want information from me, and then it's a bait and switch when I get in there.
Oh, we must get 2, 3, 4 of those every day as a LinkedIn message. They're just, yeah, right. And really what they're doing is they're absolutely looking to do business with us. And you have to be absolutely careful. Hey, Bryn Tillman, great listener, always with us, LinkedIn expert. The only way to get a response is to earn the right. This is about bringing them value with what resonates with them. So spot on, so true. This is what it is. It's about bringing value, which really sets up well. The question this week comes from Tawanda in Baltimore. She says, I don't know what has happened in the last 30 days, but I cannot get anyone to answer a call, an email, or a text. What's going on with prospects? I've got goals to hit. What ideas do you have that you can help with? And this is it. People are not responsive, but you got to ask yourself, Tawanda, are you bringing them value in other ways? Because one of the ways that we get prospects to respond to us is we create enough reason. In other words, our reputation arrives before we do. What does that mean? You got to be out there in terms of social media. You got to be out there doing things to create awareness as to, I think I do want to connect with this person. Because again, if you're just this unknown entity and they don't know anything about you, why should they respond? They're not going to. Yeah.
Tawanda, I love this question. Oh my gosh. Do you know why your prospects are not responding right now? Have you watched the news in the last 2 weeks? They have way bigger problems than buying a product or service. And I mean, every client I've got is trying to figure out, do they scale up on inventory? Will the tariffs come through? What does this pause mean? For them? What's going to happen with regulations? One of my clients I was talking to this week, we literally worked together 6 months ago and completely redid their strategy to deal with the increase in regulations and things coming from the Biden administration. Now, all those regulations are gone, and now they're trying to deal with the tariffs that are going to hit them and trying to figure out where they're going to source products. So your prospects aren't responding. Again, it's got nothing to do with you. Their life just went insane. So what do? You get with the program as to what's going on and say, these are the top 3 issues I think that you are facing. Would love to explore if there's something else. Here's how we're helping clients right now. Like, the only thing that they have time to respond to is somebody who can solve their immediate need.
That comes down to this whole thing. You got to understand your customer and their upstream and their downstream. I've been talking about this a lot with clients I am working with. I did a webinar the other day talking about know your customers upstream, because chances are what you sell to a customer is probably part of their upstream because they're using it to help do something else. So help them in their upstream, because again, this is the whole thing, the tariffs, the regulations, all this sort of stuff, what's going on. We don't know where we're going to source. I had this come up in a keynote I was doing the other day, critical issue. But then also understand downstream, who are their customers? Right now, more than ever, our customers are inundated and they're only dealing with their number 1 or number 2 issue. That's it. And there's so much uncertainty out there. So that means you got to be bringing them insights that are going to help them. Do you really understand your customers upstream? And do you understand your customers downstream? Hey, I threw Tawanda's question into the Sales Logic brain. If you're a member of the mastermind, you get access to the brain. And came up with a number of things, but 3 things in particular. It said, go vertical. Get more contacts within each company that you want to be prospecting with. That is absolutely key. I'm working with a company right now. We're setting up a new sales strategy, and we're looking at 6 contacts for each company we're trying to get into. Another one, leverage multiple mediums. In other words, you got to make sure that you're not just using email. You got to be using every form of communication out there. And the third thing that the brain came back, stay consistent. You got to keep putting out value added content for them, because otherwise you fall off the radar completely.
Yeah, I love what Roberta here is saying. She's following up on Bryn's comment. She says she was listening to a podcast from a spiritual teacher who said adding value is our life's purpose. I think reaching out and prospecting when you really believe in your bones you can help them, like, to me, when you feel like a non-responsiveness is personal, it's because you're too invested in it. Like, I say this to my clients all the time. I say, if I showed up and said where to go to dinner in your town, you would give me every great restaurant you could think of, and you wouldn't care where I went because you just want me to enjoy your town. And that's how you have to think of sales. I got to bring in Bill King's comment here. I love this. Because, Bill, I am with you. I get irritated with these salespeople that get an attitude when they send follow-up emails. Bill, I have probably had 6 of these this week, and they sound everything like, did you not get my email? Are we not connecting? What's up? Are you ignoring me, Meridith? And you know what? I'm so irritated now. If I wanted that product and it was typically $500,000 and they were selling it to me for a penny, I would not buy it. It's not the time you don't know me. It's not the time to joke with me or get cute with me. Instead, understand I've got a lot on my plate. Take the burden of follow-up off of me.
Thank you for saying that, because I'll tell you what, those types of emails are so stupid. I even get them as voicemails. And of course, I mean, I don't listen to a voicemail, but I'll read, I'll read the script of it. And it's like, those old ones, want to bounce this to the top, or I know you're busy doing this. Hey, get out of here. Forget it. Yes, Thomas, I love his comment. You're not a priority to your customer until you become a necessity for that customer. That's right. That's why you've got to stay out there. You have got to continue to zero in on your ICP, your ideal customer profile, and understand what are their needs, what are their challenges, and how do you bring value to help them through that.
Yeah, I love this question. How can I build a relationship with a prospect who doesn't respond? Sometimes they just call and ask for the price without giving information. Well, first of all, typically somebody who calls you is not always a prospect unless you did some outbound to reach them. Why? Because they're just commodity searching. But building a relationship comes down to a couple of things. Number one, you need to know the biggest and most urgent needs for the clients that you serve. What are their major pain points? Then you need to say you understand those pain points. You need to show that you understand those pain points better than they do. And then you need to provide solutions for free to those pain points. In other words, you work in the cleaning business. And I can tell you right now, the biggest pain points for me in the cleaning business is people don't show up. I can't trust them in my house without me. And if I'm not here showing them everything to do, they won't clean the house to the level that I want it clean. If you started your communications to me saying, we get the biggest pain points in the cleaning industry, or this, that's why we've designed a business that adds this type of value. I'd love to connect and I'd love to talk. Even if I didn't respond in the moment, you're now on my radar.
Well, and the whole thing that they call and ask for a price without giving any information. You don't get a price from me until I understand what your needs are. And the response has to be, you know what? I'm not even sure if we're the right company, and I wouldn't want to see you waste your money. Mind if I ask you a few questions? You've got to understand from the customer what their needs are, what the outcome is that they're looking for before you put a price. Otherwise, they're just shopping for a price and they're going with the low price person. That's not a customer you want. Yeah.
Yeah, I love what Scott's saying here. We sent out 60 lead gift boxes this week to our top 10% of leads. We're starting to get responses. Oh my gosh, Scott, this gives me such a good idea. I think I might send out some relief packages to some of my leads and my prospects, that, kind of my toolbox for really navigating all of this uncertainty. What a brilliant idea. All right, Scott, one of our mastermind members, he is our LinkedIn user here. So now we take the blinders off who our anonymous listener is.
I love it. Hey, Dave Sanderson, another mastermind member, jumps in that it's, LinkedIn messaging, voicemail. You've got to be able to use every modality, because again, what's popular for you may not work for them. We were talking before we went live this morning about how you hate Facebook. Yeah, you're right. People can message you all day long on Facebook and you're not responding. You got to go with what works for the customer, period. Because again, unresponsive prospects means only one of two things. One, they're not hearing your message, or they're not ready to respond. Now, if they're not hearing your message, different modality, spot on. if they're not responding, that doesn't mean you stop. That just means you keep sending value-added messages that are going to help them. And right now, what I'm focusing in on, upstream and downstream, because we're in a chaotic period with every customer. Yeah.
Yeah. And what I am focused on right now is completely shifting my message from what my message was 30 days ago, because the pain point of my customer is very different than the pain point was 30 days ago. And so be very, very mindful of that and ask yourself all the time, why would I respond? All right, Mark, it's probably time to get to the book and to the lightning round. What a dynamite show. You guys are awesome today.
I tell you what, we got a great audience. It started off with France and it keeps going all over the world. So it's good. Hey, our book this week is Exactly What to Say by our good friend, Phil M. Jones. This is a thin read, but maximum value, maximum content. I love this book.
Yeah, if you want to be more eloquent, if you want to know how to respond to objections, if you want to know how to respond or how to kind of command the room when you're doing a sales presentation, Exactly What to Say by Phil Jones is just an unbelievable read.
Hey, I got to pick up on what Thomas says here. He says, place a mirror next to your phone. If you're not smiling during your call, your customer can sense that. I had a boss who told me that one time. He sat me down in his office and he said, Mark, you need to put a mirror in front of you because you have the most dour face I have ever met. Now, I don't know if you know what the word dour means, but when I heard that, I had no clue. I just knew it wasn't good. Thomas, great suggestion there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I love here too. Somebody, piping in and saying, Mark, your book on prospecting is a gold mine. I just want to call that out because Mark's book on prospecting is a gold mine. If you have not read Mark's book on prospecting, you need to read it. And just before we jump into the lightning round, I want to comment on Roberta's comment here. One of my clients told me that he hasn't had any new sales, and prospects tell him they won't sign a contract until they know what is going to happen with tariffs. So that's a challenge, right? And many of us are experiencing. I would say to that person, stay in the game. Say, get it. I understand. I'm going to continue to stay in touch, continue to talk to you, because the truth is, I don't even know if in 90 or 120 days, we're going to know what's going to happen with tariffs. So they're going to have to move at some point. So the last thing you want to do is pull away. Then I would also say, go explore a market that isn't as impacted by the tariffs because you're a little bit too dependent in one particular area.
I'm going to add to that. Here's the situation. No response, no action, no decision tended to be something that we hear a lot in the old days. In this chaotic time, right now, that can almost be the worst decision because things are shifting. So we do have to create a sense of urgency out there and a sense of risk. What is the risk of no decision at all? Don't hesitate to emphasize that. Okay, lightning round. Top 10 ways to shorten the sales cycle.
Oh, I love this question. You can definitely shorten the sales cycle. Focus on your ideal customer avatar.
You took it right out of me. Number 2, bring value with every message.
Number 3, talk in pain points. Talk in their language of pain points.
Number 4, tie it to time and money. Time and money. Time and money. They're both critical.
Number 5, qualify fast and qualify hard. If you do not use a criteria, I use a 9-point criteria. They have to meet at least 5 of those criteria, or I don't continue to the prospect. Sell from a place of power.
Number 6, have multiple contacts with each customer you're trying to get into.
Number 7, I would say get really clear on who is making the decision and build a relationship with them.
Number 8, don't hesitate to dump somebody because, again, if they don't measure up to your criteria, what are you wasting time on? You're never going to shorten their sales cycle.
Number 9, take every single ounce of friction out of the sales cycle. Do not make them need to jump through one single hoop.
Number 10, keep it consistent, keep it simple. Stay in the game. You'll get them. Hey, what a great show this morning.
You're fantastic audience.
Fantastic. Hey, I'm going to encourage people, jump out to the website, saleslogicpodcast.com. You're going to see up at the top, Sales Logic Exchange, and register because each month we get a great guest. We had Tiffany Bova on. We've had Art Subject. Mike Weinberg's coming up. We got great guests every month. It's the 4th Monday of each month. So register for that and you can participate in that. And then join the mastermind. We've got a lot of mastermind members, so it's been absolutely terrific. Hey, with that, we want to say thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. Something we've said has earned you a single dollar. Consider telling a friend about our show, because it's how we grow when we help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
all of this uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
And the sale becomes logical.
All right, we'll join you right back here next week, 8 a.m. Eastern. Remember, if you've got a question, send it here to saleslogicpodcast.com. We'll feature you right here on the show. Think about the mastermind and sign up for the Sales Logic Expert Exchange. Going to be one dynamite show. All right, until then, go close a deal.